So I spent most of my career as a venture-backed CEO doing software, but I also grew up as a kid in a small farming community where my brother is still on the farm and my cousins are a fully integrated natural food business. So what you all probably know, you've experienced, is that the US food system is really extraordinary at just the diversity and just volume and low price of food that gets produced, so that we all have everything, everywhere, all the time. But what you maybe are less familiar with is that the food system is really not good at making sure all of the food gets used. Per the US Department of Agriculture, 40% of everything that farmers grow is thrown away. It amounts to somewhere between $200 and $300 billion a year in economic loss. Meanwhile, 68% of farmers are in the economic red zone, having a tough time economically. And I know pretty personally because my brother is one of them. A third of what goes into landfills is food waste. It's the largest single category. It generates a huge amount of methane gas, and besides being a kind of environmental hot mess, it represents an enormous amount of resources that are lost and wasted. And at the same time, 42 million Americans are food insecure, don't have enough to eat. You know, when you ponder those facts, that information, it's just kind of startling. It's crazy. How in the world is that even possible? So a number of years ago, I began to dig in to understand how does that actually happen. You've probably heard the adage, follow the money to get at the bottom of a complex financial scheme. Well, what I started to do was to follow the waste back into the food system to understand how it happens. And I want to share quickly a few of the things that I have learned in that process and in the process of creating FoodMaven. The first is our food system is really a creation of the 1950s that hasn't materially changed since. It's a long-haul, highly concentrated system where product gets hauled a long ways to very concentrated processing centers and then pushed back out. And the nature of that system, without really any enabling data, is one of the problems, one of the challenges. The second, though, is this abundance expectation that we've come to as a society. Conventional wisdom in grocery is if a consumer goes into a store to buy something and you're out of that item, there's a 40% chance on that one event that they'll change their shopping pattern. And so in this quest to not lose customers, everybody is committed to having everything all the time. And in fact, if you're a farmer or a producer, the unforgivable sin is to not be able to fully fill the order. With a 1950s-style system, that results in a huge amount of oversupply. And I would say that's probably the single biggest reason why we are really wasting so much food. Next is this crazy cosmetic standard that we've all kind of come to. If anything is slightly, odd shaped, too big, too small, it's a second. It's not kind of fit for the consumer marketplace. But there's more things than just that. If there's any brand change of product in the system, it's now obsolete inventory. Short lot and short date is one of the factors, although I will tell you, even though the dates are confusing as all get out, what do they mean? Best by, sell by, more delicious by. Like consumers are confused by the dates. But it's not the biggest factor. The final thing I want to mention is local food. So, we all like the idea of farm to table, but the tough reality is there's no system for it. Farmers and restaurants are kind of left to their own devices to try and put it together, and it really is a kind of dysfunctional, not a scalable system. So, again, all of these things contribute to literally hundreds of billions of dollars of food that's lost every year in the US food system. Why? So here's the thing. The food system as it exists today is really good at predictable throughput. If you're going to keep the grocery stores full and everything is kind of predictable, system works well. What the system is not good at is all of the exceptions. And it's that exception processing, that agility as the missing ingredient from the food system that we sought to address. So at FoodMaven, we are capturing, understanding how it happens, and with kind of partnerships with key folks from the farm all the way to the big grocery distribution centers, we're capturing food that's otherwise getting lost and reclaiming revenue for those producers, suppliers of the food. And then we make a market on the food service side. So it's restaurants, institutional kitchens, and commercial food businesses that are buying the arbitrage, if you will, that we're creating. Whatever doesn't rapidly sell in the system, we donate for hunger relief and dramatically increase the amount of food that goes to charitable donation as a result of the system and the economic incentives that we have created. And then always on a zero landfill. So we're everything from pet food companies to pig farms. And it turns out that there are more economically as well as environmentally savvy alternatives to landfills. So how do we do it? First of all, we've created a whole kind of online digital marketplace that really is tuned around dealing with this kind of arbitrage dynamic of lost food. And we've created a very agile logistics system that doesn't look like the rest of the food system. It looks more like Amazon Prime Now than big industrial food system. And then applying a lot of big data, technology, and AI. Things like pricing are complicated when you're dealing with kind of arbitrage food, with very positive social impacts. And I think this is an important point. For us, when we do our business, and we do our business profitably, we have social impacts that are just a natural part of it. We're recovering revenue for farmers that are struggling economically. We double to triple the amount of food in a market where we are that goes to hunger relief. Incidentally, if a third of the food that is lost, wasted, and this is global as well as the US, could be recovered, hunger would be completely eliminated. And then we have completely eliminated food that's going into landfills for positive environmental impact. So what we're able to deliver then for our suppliers and our buyers is a balanced scorecard. And this is a small college that is actually a contract with a large food service provider where we can tell them how much they've purchased, how much they saved, because they're getting a discount on the food from us, how much they are sourcing local, which is a growing priority, and then to be able to say what wasn't going in a landfill as a result and what was going into donation to meals donated. That balanced scorecard, you know, I will say, when I first got started doing FoodMaven, I thought it was all going to be coin operated. It was going to be about the economics. But what we found, especially with institutions, is sustainability matters. These are things that are driving behavior. I think you also probably realize that we represent kind of a new class of emerging startups, which are for-profit, but with very clear social impact. Not something that's kind of will donate some percentage of our profits, but the entire design of what we have done is really to realize these social impacts. And there's a whole new category of investors as well. I have never had so many investors pursuing us as I have with FoodMaven. And I think it again is because increasingly society is saying, how can we do good business and do good for society at the same time? And so our motto is all food used with good purpose. Thank you so much.